Welcome to Nick and Dave Deep Dive the Metaverse, a podcast exploring cult classics, subculture, and geek media. I'm Nick.
And I'm Dave.
And we will be your tour guides for this deep dive of Alex Proyas' 1998 Neo-Noir Gothic horror sci-fi mystery, Dark City.
Gothic horror. You threw that one in there. I was going to call it the Australian-American neo-noir science fiction box office bomb. Dark City.
It is, I mean, it was sort of a bomb, but it has become very highly regarded over time.
Yeah, it's over time people have gained an appreciation for what it was trying to do at the time. I think that this had a problem of being just instantly overshadowed by The Matrix.
Yeah, the following year The Matrix came out, and the same year as this movie, there was a lot of big movies.
Yeah.
Like I think Titanic came out in 1998, which just took all the wind out of everything.
Yeah, this was like a quirky, weird movie. I remember this came out. I lived in Texas.
Okay. I've been trying to figure out if you. I remember a group of us went and saw it of our friends, and I didn't think you were there, but I couldn't come up with a reason why you wouldn't have been.
Yeah, I was in Texas at this time, and I don't think I saw this movie. I don't remember it. If I did see it, I wasn't watching the movie much.
Yeah. I was very excited about this movie because it was the next, the follow-up to The Crow from Alex Proyas.
That's really the thing. Like, for me, this is the Crow 5-star movie. Mm-hmm. This is Alex's next movie right after. So I was excited just for that. Also, huge Kiefer Sutherland fan.
Yeah.
I love his movies. I mean, Lost Boys, etc.
A lot of return metaverse classics here with Kiefer Sutherland, Jennifer Connelly from Labyrinth, Alex Proyas, a lot of returning familiar faces from things that we've covered before.
Well, and I mean, we got the guy that played Count Adamar in Knight's Tale as the main protagonist. So he's like, I love him in that role. He's so good as an asshole.
It is, and he's like, I'm spacing on the guy's name.
I think it's Rufus Sewell.
Yeah, Sewell. Yeah,
Sewell.
Yeah, so. He was a hot actor for a little bit there at the end of the 90s.
Minute, yeah.
And then you don't see a lot of him anymore, but I've liked him in everything he's been in.
Yeah, for sure.
I remember kind of not quite getting this movie at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Like I definitely didn't watch movies the way I do now. Like I have a lot more appreciation for the different styles, the noir style, the cinematography and stuff. Yeah,
like when they intentionally slowly tease out a story. Mm-hmm. When I was younger, I just didn't have any patience for that.
Right, totally.
And so I thought that this was really interesting because this was shot in Australia.
Yeah. And
it was entirely shot on a studio lot. Everything was built. Mm-hmm. There were no on-location shots. It was all essentially inside a dark, giant studio warehouse.
Yeah, and that adds to that sense, that claustrophobic sense the movie has.
Suffocating.
Yeah, and it's like, and the artificiality of it, like aesthetically, this movie is very strong. Like it has a vibe. Well,
it just looks totally fake. It looks like the world of Dark City, the city itself. It looks like Gotham City in Tim Burton's Batman, but even more fake.
Yeah,
like it's grimy, but it's like intentionally grimy. It's weird. It doesn't look like Blade Runner, which is the gold standard. It doesn't look like Escape from New York, which looks like trashy New York.
Yeah,
it looks like someone's idea of a fake future city, but it's not realistic.
But it's not a futuristic city at all.
No.
It's a retro city.
Yeah, it's like a retro future. It's got that like Fallout vibe. Where it's like old but futurish, like here and there. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. It's got a really interesting aesthetic. Roger Ebert said it was the best movie of 1998. He was big on it.
Wow.
And I watched that segment from Siskel and Ebert. They both thumbs up the movie, but Roger was real strong on it. And they declared, both of them, that Alex Proyas should take over the Batman franchise.
I could see that.
Because they thought they were already not a fan of Schumacher's direction he was taking it.
Yeah, Schumacher, boo. You should.
Just said you loved Lost Boys just moments ago.
Oh no. Divers, go back and listen to the Lost Boy episode. I sat there and bemoaned that 50% of the movie was for little kids, but the other half was for adults. So it was two movies joined together. They needed to get rid of everyone named Corey.
Harsh. Justice for the Frog Brothers.
Yeah, that's actually the Frog Brothers B plot is the part I don't like. I think it actually robs the movie of its vampire like horror nature. The other part, I could make a 40-minute fan edit that's fucking dope.
You think you could? I don't think you could quite cut the Frog Brothers out of it.
No, because they're part of the final fights and stuff. Anyway, on this movie,
we're off track.
I guess I just wanted to note that I thought it was really interesting that this was totally put on, done on sound stages and whatnot, and how they intentionally went for a small budget so that they could have creative freedom. Yeah. Proyas was saying that the larger the budget, the less freedom you have.
That's true. And I also think a lot of, even though he is Australian, I think people film in Australia to be far from the studio. Like that's one of the advantages to Australia and New Zealand. It's like no one's going to fly from California down here to check on us.
Yeah, for sure. And this was made for $27 million, and it basically made $27 million after all was said and done, and that's generous.
Yeah, that's tough. That's a tough one, and it's sort of kind of amazing how few movies Alex Proyas has on his IMDb, and I think it's because he really The Crow was his real only hit, and everything else has been cult status movies.
Yeah, he doesn't make movies that make money.
Yeah, unfortunately, true.
And I like his artistic vision to a certain point, but I also sometimes think that he's too much in his own head, and he's kind of he's trying to make a movie guy's movie. He's not trying to make a movie that's like actually entertaining. He's the type of person who, like, if there's like 30 Easter eggs in a scene, he's happier than if the scene has like really excellent drama.
I can see that, yeah.
Anyway, so let's go ahead and roll for initiative.
Okay.
6.
11.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so first up, it's kind of a two-parter. Basim Tariq, the director or the assigned director for Blade from Marvel Studios, dropped out of the project about 2 weeks ago.
Oh, snap.
And
Alex Proyas?
Is he available? He'd be a good fit for Blade.
Blade.
I would definitely see an Alex Proyas Blade joint. I was thinking Del Toro. He made his career off of Blade, so it's a return home, I think. But anyway, so he exited the project, and then some 2 weeks later, Marvel pushed back the whole slate. So there was a lot of fear that they were just going to push ahead. I don't know if they were going to start shooting with a set, because they were scheduled to begin production next month in November. And sometimes, like the Fast and the Furious movie did this, the director left and they just went ahead with the second unit director and hoped for the best and hope we'd find another director to come and fill in eventually. Yeah. But Marvel, luckily, realized this is kind of an important movie and pumped the brakes and pushed everything back. So now,
I mean, they know that they're on the hook for a bunch of 3-star movies, so they got to make sure they don't drop any bombs.
So they moved it to the 6th of September 2024 from previously had been scheduled for the 3rd of November in 2023. And then everything else past that has just shifted back a couple months.
Is it because they're all connected and you need the Blade portion of the story first,
I think so, yeah. Like,
they try to do this annoying Jenga thing
where certain characters drop in, it kind of matters. And also Marvel's lately has done a really bad job of beginning films before they have a script completed. Where they just start shooting and then fix things with reshoots and stuff later, and it makes the budgets crazy and the movies a little incoherent. So this is the right move, even if it costs them some money up front.
Yeah, I haven't watched a Marvel movie in a while unless it was out on HBO for free or whatever.
I mean Disney,
whatever. Yeah. It's all the same.
It's all the same. The streaming box. The Roku box.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, I probably won't see Blade.
Blade's your wheelhouse,
I didn't
though.
see Morbius, and vampires are my wheelhouse.
Yeah, but Morbius, one, it's a Sony movie, and two, unanimously, it's terrible. Everyone says it's like the worst movie they've seen that year.
Rip Jared Leto.
Hey, his terrible band is, they're not terrible, but his
No,
mediocre
they're okay.
band is playing When We Were Young Fest next year in Las Vegas.
Oh, I'm not going to Las Vegas for that.
Not for, no.
I went for Emperor.
You won't go for a reunited Blink-182?
Oh, no.
No, me either. But anyways, what's your next news item?
My first news item, I'm going to do the biggest one first, the best one. We got some actual, and this isn't real news stuff, but it was actually, it was a press drop about the next iteration or the sequel to Dune.
Okay.
We got the next official plot synopsis from Warner Brothers, and the official title, which is just Dune Part 2. And they say this is the plot synopsis. It's not too long, so I'll read it. It's like 2 sentences. This follow-up film will explore the mythic journey of Paul Atreides as he unites with Chani and the Fremen while on a warpath of revenge against the conspirators who destroyed his family. Facing a choice between the love of his life and the fate of the known universe, he endeavors to prevent a terrible future only he can foresee. So pretty much what we knew.
The second half of the book.
Yeah, the second half of the book. For me, I'm really happy that they've got almost every major actor for all the major characters coming back. You really couldn't do it without Timothée Chalamet. I mean, it's pretty much that's it. But I'm really happy that we have, Javier Bardem back, Josh Brolin. You even have the guy who played Thufir back, and that's great. Stellan Skarsgård as Baron Harkonnen, but a couple of new cast members that you probably know about. But the one that really made me very happy was Christopher Walken as Emperor Shaddam IV.
Yeah.
That's nuts, dude.
That's really cool.
That's like the best casting in the whole thing.
Yeah.
I just hope he talks like Walken.
Of course. He only does the one.
He does the one thing.
But what about Fade Routha? Because I know they've announced who's
that's
playing
Fade
him.
Routha is Austin Butler.
Yeah.
Who I can't make a mental picture of.
He's the kid that plays Elvis in the Elvis movie.
Oh, okay.
He's good. He's a really good actor. He's a good choice, I think.
And
he's a good anti-Chalamet.
Okay. Is he like beefier?
No, like they're both two skinny lads.
Skinny little dudes. Okay,
Yeah.
well that's good because he has to be Sting.
Exactly.
We got Floris Pug or Pew. I think if I my last name was this, I'd go by Pug because Pew is like Pew.
Yeah, but Pug is like a flat-faced dog.
Everyone loves a pug.
That's true.
Come on, she's Princess Irulan.
Yeah, that's good casting too. She's awesome.
I mean, this movie, the first one was amazing, 5-star movie, 5-star trailer. This is definitely going to be. I can't see him making less than a 4-star version, and it'll be a disappointment if it's not 5 because they've set themselves up for it. I'm stoked for this. This is just one of those things where I'm an enthusiast, so every little crumb they drop, I'm on the hook for it. Like just seeing a picture of Christopher Walken in a Dune article, I'm just like,
exciting.
Yes. All right, so what do you got?
My next item is actually, I guess, sort of a piggyback on that because I was keeping with the theme of changing release dates, and Warner Brothers pushed back the release date of Dune Part 2 by, I think, about a month because it's now going to be released on November 3rd of 2023.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, and that's so it won't be competing with another Warner Brothers movie, the Hunger Games prequel.
Really? You need a prequel to that?
Mm-hmm. Well,
I guess they got to milk the property for money.
You can't. I mean, there's not much to tell in the story in the future, right?
Yeah,
so they have to kind of go backwards on it. Whatever. I
can't complain because I'm all for the Game of Thrones prequels.
And I'm good. On the positive side of ambivalent for the Hunger Games stuff. I think it's fine.
It's all right.
Yeah.
I saw them. I don't even think I watched the last couple, but I saw the first few. It was all right. Not enough to make me buy another.
It'll be on HBO Max. We can watch it.
Yeah,
there.
exactly.
All right. What do you got?
All right. So this is not media related, but nerd related. You and I both use Android phones and have for a long time.
Right.
Google put out a new Pixel phone. Pixel 7 just came out a couple of days ago. I know that's not huge news for most of the divers because, you don't... I mean, there are some people that religiously upgrade their phone every time a new one comes out. But usually I wait till one starts irritating me in some way.
Right, exactly.
And I'm not there yet. And I don't think you're there yet because you have a new rig.
Yeah.
You have a 6 or 6A or something?
I think it's a 6. I'm not, I think it's a 6.
You have a pretty good phone. I went Samsung because I was off step when my last phone broke.
Oh, okay.
But the reason I bring this up is because, of course, maybe the divers need
Actually,
a new
I have a 5.
device.
I have a 5. Lisa's got a 6.
Oh, okay. I think Carrie has a 6 too. Yeah. Anyway, if the divers need a new phone, go ahead and do that. Get yourself a Pixel 7 because Pixels are dope. But the big news here is actually Google made its first foray into wearables. We have the Pixel Watch. And it's like a slim, kind of a sleek design. It's round. It's not a big square. It's not thick and bulky off the wrist like your watch is and like my watch is that I'm not wearing. And it's really slick. It's just the video and stuff of them using it. It looks really nice. It's I have a Samsung smartwatch. It's a couple years old now, but it still functions just fine. Works great for like the pedometer and the various things. Check my texts. But the reason I don't wear it is because the battery life is such that I need to charge it like almost every day or every other day. And so I forget it on the charger and it's really bulky. You like a bulky ass watch.
I do, but I am a notorious watch smasher. That's part of why I wear the G-Shock watch because they're nigh indestructible. When I've had a fancy watch, I put bad scratches on the face.
So you got to if you get a Pixel watch, you got to get a sick ass case cover.
Put an otter case on it. Do they do that for watches?
They have cases and covers and stuff and a glass adhesive lens thing.
Okay.
So I was thinking about this. I've been debating. It's like $350, which is not a lot for a watch for a device. You know, it's a device I don't need. So I'm leaning towards no, but I kind of want it.
It's cool. I mean, I wouldn't look down on you for getting it.
One of my colleagues that I hang out with at work, she's got one, not a Pixel watch, but an Apple watch. She's an Apple person, and her watch does a lot more stuff than my watch does, and I think this Pixel watch would do a lot more.
Yeah, the Apple people they'll make you jealous of their watch. I'm never jealous of an iPhone, but the watch is like, the watch does a lot of cool stuff.
And this is that. But for us. So, yeah.
I don't know. I'll have to look at it.
If you're listening, Christmas is coming.
We should do like OnlyFans girls do, and we'll make an Amazon wish list that our supporters can.
I'll record a message on your phone, your incoming voicemail, whatever you want. All right, so what's up next?
All right, my final one, and this really felt like scraping the bottom of what I considered news.
Okay.
But Sydney Sweeney of Euphoria, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and Handmaid's Tale is set to executive produce and star in a remake of Barbarella. Of course, Barbarella is a classic or cult classic 1968 film that starred Jane Fonda, based on Jean-Claude Forest's comic book series about a 41st century space adventurer. I love...
This is pulp sci-fi.
Yeah, I love Barbarella for what it is, and it's like campy, swinging 60s style thing. I've never felt like it needed a modern
update. It's like
update.
the old Logan's Run.
Yeah, like it's beautiful in its little box, and I enjoy it for what it is, and I don't need a new one. Mm-hmm. So... And as I alluded to earlier, this is coming from Sony. I'm skeptical of them. Anything they make that's not animated is terrible.
I was going to say, do they make anything you like? Because their products tend to suck. Like when was the last time you had like a Sony phone or a Sony watch or a Sony TV?
I actually think their MP3 player, the Sony Walkman, is...
Oh, is that a thing now?
That's a thing.
Don't you just use your phone?
Yes, I do just use my phone. But if I was going to use an MP3 player, like an iPod type thing, I would use a Sony Walkman.
Okay, so that's super,
and I like Sony headphones.
That's super niche.
Yeah, I like I use a Sony PlayStation.
Oh, I do too.
Yeah.
Okay, you got me.
Yeah.
You got me.
But as a movie studio, they're fairly terrible.
They're balls, and they need to give up their Marvel rights of
Yeah.
all kinds and just give them to the mouse.
Yeah. But
Sell them, make money.
Yeah, totally. But that's how they make money is that they own these Marvel characters. That's been their reliable moneymaker.
Oh, man.
Anyways, Sydney Sweeney is going to produce and star in a remake of Barbarella, and I wish her well.
All right.
And that's it.
I got one more because I think that's 3 for each of us. And this is another minor one. Actually, no, I got 2 more, and they're both really short. One, Rip Angela Lansbury.
Oh, yeah.
Can't forget her.
Murder, She Wrote.
Legend. That's it. Next one. TikTok is going into online shopping, including its own physical fulfillment centers a la Amazon.
Wow.
And they've posted all these hiring links and stuff. And I just think this is crazy. Like, is this the future where your social media and your retail is combined, where you're like, okay, I can click like, I can share, or I can click buy, whatever they're showing. Is this just the new super advanced version of the shopping network on TV where you can buy stuff that you see in videos?
It's very cyberpunky, right? Because
I just click on something and now I own that thing.
Yeah. And sure, this is the future, and it's ultra targeted, right? Like the ads and stuff that you see are really geared towards you.
Do you use TikTok? Do you have that on your phone?
I do. I kind of have become like a TikTok scroller.
Why? What's the appeal? Because I don't.
The appeal is just the algorithm for TikTok knows you intimately from the moment you start using it. So you just see things that you like. It's the opposite of Facebook, where Facebook's algorithm pushes things towards you that you're going to interact with, often in rage. TikTok just shows you stuff you like.
Okay.
And so
like heavy metal and cats and vampires and guitars.
Probably if you install TikTok right now, that would be your feed. Like if you started scrolling, it would be like guitar videos and cat videos and vampire. Like, did you know Bram Stoker, blah, blah, blah. And like, because it mines your phone, right? And looks at what
everything you've ever done.
It knows what you look at, and it just shows you stuff you like. So it's very difficult to swipe away. It just wants to show you more videos.
Oh, it's hard to just get rid of it.
And so you're trapped in it.
So what do you think, as a user of it and as a person I classify as a grown-ass adult, even if there's an asterisk, because you actually hate the idea of being a grown-ass adult?
Right.
What do you think about the fact that it's owned by Chinese firms and that it's ultra sus on stealing and selling your information?
I think that's kind of the same, Faustian bargain we're doing with every social media thing.
See, I predicted you would say that, but I think there's a difference between Zuck owning your stuff and the Chinese government that's actively opposed to our government and wants to make you vote how they want you to vote.
Right.
Their interest versus Zuck's interest.
Interesting. I'm a trust neither Xi Jinping or Mark Zuckerberg, but I probably trust Zuckerberg less. He's like Zuckerberg and Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos are at the bottom of the barrel of trustability.
Okay, see,
dictators are also at the bottom of the barrel.
Okay, because I was going to say, I think my least trusted human is probably Donald Trump.
But I mean, until he successfully stops the steal, he's
a nobody.
He's a nobody right now. Yeah, like he no longer has any IRL power.
That's true. Okay, so what's our podcast fuel?
Okay, today's podcast fuel is from Culmination Brewing. I think I've mentioned before, they're my favorite local brewery, and it is called Night Sky. It's a West Coast IPA. This West Coast IPA uses hops from our local friends at Crosby Farms. It's bursting with flavor of tangerine, citrus zest, stone fruit, and with tropical aroma, and it's a beer to enjoy under the summer night sky.
It's got a really cool label with like like kind of a red deserty scene with a green hill, and then a Milky Way galaxy night sky that's really kind of pleasing to look at. They did good branding here.
Yeah. I love Culmination, man. Like this is
the best beer we've had in a little while.
It's definitely. I mean, we had Pliny last week, so I can't say I won't say it's the best, but this is just a really crushable West Coast IPA.
That's very true. All right, so let's go ahead and take a break, and then we'll come back and jump into Dark City.
Welcome back, divers. Let's dive into Dark City, 1998, directed by Alex Proyas.
My favorite thing happens right at the beginning, a voiceover.
Okay, so and this is, I caught you, or didn't manage to catch you in time because I texted you to watch the director's cut because you hate voiceover, and you'd already locked in the theatrical cut.
Yeah, because nowhere has this to stream for free.
No,
you had to buy it. So I was like checking on YouTube, and it was like $10 for the director's cut. Or was it? And then I went to Amazon, and it was $3.
Yeah,
and that was the theatrical.
See, I thought Amazon had both. I just bought the Blu-ray because it was like $9.99.
Oh,
and then I have both. So,
okay, yeah, because physical media is the wave of the future.
They go into the box with all the other Blu-rays.
All right, yeah. So we get a voiceover. It's talking about an alien race that's seeking a cure for their own mortality. So they're like trying to find a place. They're a dying race of ancient high-tech badasses.
Yeah. So right off the bat, I hate this. I hate having this voiceover at the beginning. I think it spoils all the twists of the movies right from the start. It's there at studio insistence. New Line, which is a subsidiary of Warner Brothers, felt like the movie was too hard for the audience to understand, and they wanted voiceover narration. And Kiefer Sutherland reluctantly went into the studio with Alex Proyas and came up with what they felt was like the minimal exposition that they could satisfy the executives and still maintain the integrity of the film. But I think this is really harms the movie.
Yeah, and I really like Kiefer Sutherland. I think he's awesome. But this isn't his greatest work. He's kind of like a Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Yeah, he's playing like a Dr. Frankenstein. Like he's very much playing a type. He's like partially mad
Frankenstein, Dr. Frankenstein, but he's also Igor. Yeah, he's like both.
That's fair because he has kind of like a droopy eye. Yeah, like he's also heavily coded, and this is Dr. Poe Daniel Scherber. He's heavily coded as a Nazi.
Yeah.
With the haircut, the little round glasses. He uses a Mauser pistol later in the film. And he has this line about, how his scientific knowledge made him valuable, so they kept him. And it's like, I never quite got like what the Nazi thing was about. Like he represents a Nazi scientist, but I don't know to what end.
Yeah, I don't know either. I think that maybe they were just trying to play on a trope that you will definitely understand.
Yeah, and not trust. You immediately don't trust him.
Yeah.
And partially it's because in his voiceover narration he says, "I've betrayed my own kind."
Yeah.
So they really want you to not trust him from the start.
Yeah, then it opens up with, we got Dr. Schreiber, and he looks kind of dapper, like he's dressed in dapper clothes, but he looks frumpy and like flustered.
He's got the Van Helsing outfit, right? He's got the Peter Cushing Homburg hat and overcoat.
I didn't even put that together because Peter Cushing looks so cool.
Yeah.
Like instantly, if you watch Dracula and you see Peter Cushing, you're like, I want to be him.
But you don't feel that way about
absolutely
Nazi scientists.
I'm like, I want to kick that guy in front of one of these retro cars.
Okay, that's a strong reaction, but I think I think that's what they want.
Yeah, you're supposed to not like him. He's
You're supposed to
doing
not like
everything off-putting.
Exactly.
And then you notice, so the city is like, it's weird. It's old looking, like 30s, 40s, 50s. I don't know.
It's sort of unplaceable anywhere between like 1935 and 1960.
Yeah, it's like, what do you think of when you think of noir generique? It's like Dark City.
Yeah.
And so everything's old, but it's different. And there's every now and then something that makes you think of the future, like The Rocketeer makes you think of the future.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that retrofuturist.
Yeah. And then you notice people are all slumped over asleep all across the city.
Yeah, the clock strikes 12, and our Dr. Schreiber witnesses this. He doesn't fall asleep, but the entire city shuts down. Cars come to a halt, and everyone goes to sleep across the whole city. And then shortly thereafter, our protagonist wakes up.
So just before we see the protagonist waking up in a bathtub, I want to say that they do they move you from place to place, kind of like they do in The Crow, where you get like a cityscape thing, and then it moves you across the city in pseudo drone footage, but it's not.
Yeah,
but they're all models and
it's
stuff.
dolly cams moving over models.
I gotta say, these models look pretty fake. Like the whole thing looks very plastic, like not literally plastic, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, I think it looks the same as the city in The Crow. Like,
I definitely thought that it looked less realistic than the city in The Crow. Because it's cleaner, but it's like it's grimy in an organized way. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I mean, what the vibe I got, I mean, because it's clear when it's all sets, right?
Yeah.
So there's no real city, but it's clear when we kind of shift over into the models and things
this
like
is a model
into miniatures. Yeah. But I found like it was very, to me, aesthetically similar to The Crow. Like, I was like, this is the Proyas style, I guess. This is what he's into.
So do you think King Viserys would have been into this style of movie making? Because
he loves model cities.
He's a modeler.
He loves model cities. I'm into this style of movie making.
Yeah, I do think it's cool. And I did want to note that the lighting, it looks great. Like they light this super well. It reminds me of The Crow, and I also noticed the sound design was really spooky and really heavy-handed, but in a good way. Like you feel immersed in this sound. Yeah, and I think that really worked.
And I was going to call him out later, but I guess I will just do it now since we're talking so much about it. Darius Wolski, who is the cinematographer, he worked with Proyas on The Crow, and they're back together on this, and the two of them together are dynamite as far as I'm concerned.
They make really good looking stuff.
They both have an aesthetic that lines up just like perfectly with each other.
Yeah. And then we get to John Murdoch awakening in a hotel bathtub. He seems to not know where he's at or what's going on. He's got some blood on his forehead, and it's dripping. And he's like, he's trying to get dressed, and it's like some sort of dream or something.
Yeah, he's very disoriented. Doesn't seem to know where he is or how he got there. There's clothes folded on the chair. He gets dressed, and he's in kind of like one of those old sort of residential hotels from yesteryear, and he's kind of trying to put together clues and stuff.
It's like from John Wick.
Yeah, I haven't seen. I still need to see the John Wick movies. I'll get around.
So good. We should do an episode on it.
Yeah.
Anyway, so then Morpheus calls Mr. Anderson and tells him to get out.
You can't skip over the goldfish because I think it's...
Oh, in the tub, you think that matters?
The goldfish matters for a couple of reasons. One, the first reason, as he exits the bathroom, he knocks over a fishbowl, breaking it, and there's a goldfish flopping on the floor, which he scoops up and puts in the bathtub. So the first thing is just on a basic character level, it's showing just sort of altruism and empathy, right? Like that... he cares about this living thing and rescued it. On symbolism level, he's the goldfish breaking out of his bowl.
He is the fish out of water. But here's the thing. Like, maybe I'm jaded, and maybe I've read too much about writing stories and whatnot, because there's literally a book called Save the Cat, and the idea about writing stories, specifically screenplays, and one of the things it says is, if you want to make a character instantly likable by people, have them save an animal.
Right.
And so I was just like, when I saw him grab the goldfish, I was like, womp womp, heavy-handed storytelling. I guess you can't write good stories. You just used a trope. It's like making the Doctor ugly so you don't like him. That's cheap.
The whole movie is an homage to tropes, right? Like, when you're making a noir movie, which is it's intentionally a retro thing already.
Sure.
Where
I think Blade Runner had a healthy DNA of noir, and it didn't use a cheap storytelling thing like that.
Okay.
I just thought the same thing. Like, make the bad guy ugly. I mean, you might as well have made him fat, because that's the other easy. Baron Harkonnen him.
And now there's quite a bit of pushback on the physical deformity to denote evil and stuff like that. And like, it's like, so why you give the guy a droopy eye, and then it unfairly casts all people with a droopy eye as being untrustworthy.
Yeah, because next time you see someone in a restaurant with a droopy eye, you're just going to point at them and say, "You betrayed our species."
you're a collaborator with the strangers. Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, so yeah, he rescues the thing. He rescues the deal, and then he gets a call from Dr. Schreiber, who tells him he has to leave and evade the group of men who are after him. Yeah. This is the classic Morpheus calls Neo and tells Mr. Anderson to leave.
I know, it's really, I mean, it's unfair. And let's talk about the Matrix parallels and everything, because there's just so many of them.
Well, obviously this movie extreme.
This movie
absolutely extreme.
Yeah, this movie comes out a year ahead of The Matrix.
Yeah, they were in development simultaneous, though.
Right. The Matrix reuses sets from this movie liberally, because this movie wrapped production in Australia. The Matrix bought all their shit, and that's why so many things. This bathroom is in The Matrix. The stairwell from later is in The Matrix. The rooftops are reused in The Matrix. So many sets from this movie are in the first Matrix film. And then thematically, they overlap with each other constantly.
Oh, yeah.
And Proyas really feels like the Wachowskis stole from him.
Like they jacked him.
Because they
stole the Matrix story in the first place. They ended up paying the person off with an NDA.
They borrowed from a lot of different sources, because a lot of people kind of claim the Matrix was stolen from them. I think Grant Morrison has a claim against them, and the one you mentioned,
that author who sent them a screenplay several years before,
allegedly.
We
can discuss that next episode.
That's true. Wachowskis are hacks. Go ahead.
I think there's a lot of parallels, and perhaps seeing an early cut of this movie influenced them. I can't imagine they changed their script to match this one. I think you have a Deep Impact Armageddon situation here, where it just sort of happens naturally that two movies thematically match up at around the same time. This happens really frequently.
Yeah, it's kind of annoying, actually, from a consumer's point of view.
Yeah, but it's just a collective consciousness zeitgeist thing that happens.
See, I feel like this is like a noir. This is like a noir sci-fi, and we have then The Matrix, which is like a post-apocalyptic cyberpunk movie. It's like this movie doesn't even belong in the Cyberpunk series.
No, I think it's only on the list because of its connections, or thematic connections to the Matrix.
Yeah.
And, the one I've been thinking about it all week. The one thing that kind of thematically makes it cyberpunk is just the mind wiping and memory implantation theme.
Sure, yeah, that is a trope.
That's a big part of it, and but otherwise,
there's no cyber, there's no punk.
exactly. It's almost closer to steampunk. If you were going to put it into one
it
of those
definitely looks more steampunk.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not as many gears on hats, but
but there are gears. There's a lot of gears, and there's steam.
we get goggles, and round glasses a lot.
Yeah, it has more in common with, and the same thing with 12 Monkeys. That has more in common aesthetically with steampunk than cyberpunk.
Yeah, that's true. 12 Monkeys was loco. I was following this a lot more.
Okay. So let's get back to the plot. We did a big tangent. He gets the call from Morpheus. He busts out of there. As he's leaving, he comes downstairs. Everyone in the hotel is asleep. Mm-hmm. And then the clock chimes, and everyone wakes up. And he gets hassled by the receptionist. Tells him the automat called. You left your wallet there, and they want you to come get it.
Yeah. You got to pay for more time there.
Yeah. Your 3 weeks that you paid for are up. Geez. And I brushed past. There's a dead body in the room.
Yeah. There's a lady who's been ritualistically carved up and a bloody knife. And he's got blood on him. He's like, me?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. He's definitely set up to feel like he murdered this woman.
And for all appearances, he did.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of thought the front desk guy was a complete prick.
He is.
And then it is interesting, like, then people show up to look for him. Mm-hmm. And I was like, holy shit, the villain from Who Framed Roger Rabbit is in this too?
There's an aesthetic similarity. That is not Christopher Lloyd from Who Framed Roger Rabbit, though. It's Richard O'Brien from the Rocky Horror Picture Show that plays Mr. Hands. And I just was struck, like, he doesn't look like he aged a day in the 30 years between Rocky Horror and this. Like, he's well preserved, dipped in formaldehyde or whatever.
That's awesome. So yeah, he flees the scene, and the pale trench coat guys, who are called the Strangers, they show up behind him, and they're just casing the joint. Yeah,
they go up there. The receptionist is going over to flip the room because even though he implied he'd wait for Murdoch to get back before letting the room out, he lied. It went over his 3 weeks, and he's going to flip the room, and they go sleep. And he
they
passes
Men
out.
in Blacked him.
Yeah, exactly.
And then we go to like a lounge club, and there's a lady in green like singing at the front of the club.
Always welcome to see Jennifer Connelly.
I was just wondering, like, they did like an extreme close up on her face, like where it covered the whole screen,
right.
And I don't know if that was necessary because it just was like there was no airbrushing or anything. You're like, I can see her little mustache whiskers, and like it was just extreme. And I have no problem with people being people. We grow hair on our bodies, but it was like, why did you fill the screen with face?
Wow.
It was just a weird artistic choice. Like, it just seemed like that's just an odd pick, right?
I don't know. It didn't seem odd to me. It seems she's singing in a jazz club, and she's sort of
kind of has a Debbie Downer sort of a vibe to her.
She's in your noir film, she's the femme fatale.
Sure.
And she is portrayed exactly like that in stereotypical fashion. I don't know. I didn't bump against it. I just sort of read the trope.
I didn't bump against it. I just was like, oh, okay, this is the classic lounge singer, pretty lady.
Yeah.
There's going to be some distress later on, and I'm just thinking, okay, cool. And then it's like, whomp, right in on the face. I was like, whoa.
That's close.
Do we need that?
A little too close. Okay. She gets off stage, and one of her cohorts tells her that she got a call from her husband's doctor. Mm-hmm. And that's that Dr. Schreiber calling again.
Is it Schreiber or Schreiber?
It's just like Schreiber. Like, there's a lot of like...
For Schreibert.
There's a lot of awkward pronunciation.
Oh, there you go.
In this movie. Like, it wasn't really clear to me if they were saying tuning or tuning or
I think it's tuning.
It is tuning.
Because I have a friend with a British accent who will add that little bit of ch into the T sound, so he'd be like tuning.
Yeah,
for sure.
And so there's a lot of just sort of awkward pronunciations in the movie. But anyways, she goes to visit the creepy doctor at his creepy office. And we sort of shift from film noir into German expressionism when we get to the doctor's office.
Yeah,
because he has a real mad scientist lab.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts. Mm-hmm. And he's just like, your husband had a psychotic break.
Yeah.
And she's like, I didn't know you were his doctor. Oh, yeah, he talked to me after you cheated on him when he was having mental problems. And she's like, oh, snap. That's why he didn't tell me about it.
You're like, that's why he didn't tell me about his doctor. That's why he's been gone for 3 weeks. All of this stuff. We'll uncover this as we go. But everyone has implanted memories. Right?
Yeah, they're all scrambled,
and so everyone sort of always feels a little bit lost and like they're trying to catch up with their own story in progress.
Yeah,
and everyone I think plays it excellently.
Oh, because like when Schreiber tells her that he had mental problems from when she cheated on him. She's like, oh yeah, I cheated on him. Oh no. You sort of see it on her face as she like accesses that memory for the first time. And it's like, oh yeah. Damn.
I did that. Whoa, real cunty of me. It's
I hear that word's offensive.
Alex Proyas is Australian, and so I'm gonna play the Australian card. It's thematically appropriate to the film.
See, I do the same thing if I'm gonna use that word, I do it in an Irish accent. I'm like, you wee cunt.
Yeah,
because then it's funny and it's appropriate for the culture I'm appropriating. Actually, it's part of me. So.
I'm also offensive. I'm sorry if that was too edgy. I'm a little too liberal with that word.
I'll admit.
I know it's hurtful to people, and we should endeavor to purge our vocabulary of gendered insults anyway.
I think that...
But cunts used both ways.
That's true.
In the British style.
I think sometimes it's just fun to say something that gets a rise out of people, but that's a juvenile impulse.
Yeah,
we can do better.
That's why you put an asterisk next to my adult status.
Yeah, for sure. We will not call people cunts. We'll come up with a better word. We'll have to brainstorm on this one.
I mean, I'm not going to make any promises about in traffic situations. That's my go-to.
I use it in the car too.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Okay. Anyways, we
got to do better than this.
Yeah.
Nick.
This whole
do better.
This whole cunty detour is we're off the rails again. Due to Murdoch is heading over to the automat, and he's trying to come up. He knows his first initial's J, and he's trying to jog his memory. He's trying Jack, Gerald, Jordan, whatever. He's just sort of freaking out and trying to figure himself out.
I went to a cool place kind of like this in Japan, but I think it was called like a Vendateria or something like that.
Yeah, we used to have them a lot in America. It's a very World War II era sort of thing.
I like it. It's pretty cool.
It's very handy. Yeah, for sure. We also cut over to a guy playing accordion in his apartment by a window, and it's William Hurt, and he's playing Inspector Frank Bumstead because his
weird
phone
name
rings.
Choice.
Yeah, Bumstead.
Yeah,
I thought it was a weird name too. He arrives at the hotel to investigate the murdered woman, and our eagle-eyed viewers might notice the hotel receptionist has been replaced by an entirely different guy.
Yeah, I mean, it was a middle-aged white guy before. It's a middle-aged black guy now, and he's totally different. He's more polite.
But he recites the same dialogue.
Yeah, exactly the same dialogue.
Yeah, and so
you gotta have the dollar on the barrel or whatever.
Cash on the
barrel. That's it.
Yeah, and so again, in the director's cut, these clues are more enticing and everything is being teased out better.
How long is the director's cut?
2 hours. is like a straight up 2 hours.
Because this is 2 hours and 4 minutes. The theatrical.
Okay, they were roughly
It's
the
just
same.
different.
Yeah, it's differently allocated.
Huh.
Maybe I'm
Maybe you're
underselling
mixing
it,
it
but
up.
it was not much more than 2 hours. And there's not much more in this. In some ways, there's less.
There's not much to mine out of this story.
It's like
pretty simple.
That opening segment where everyone goes to sleep right at the beginning of the movie and the voiceover, that's not there.
Okay.
We basically drop in
In the hotel.
when Murdoch wakes up in the hotel. And then there's a couple extended scenes throughout the movie.
Interesting. All right, so yeah, he gets hassled by cops who are just being total jackass.
Oh, this is Murdoch in the automat. He goes in. He gets hassled by the guy working at the automat. First of all, because there's the guy that actually puts food into the different boxes, and he puts his wallet out into a box, but it doesn't.
He doesn't
open
have money to open it, and it doesn't open.
And then those cops walk in, and he gets nervous. And this is the first time we see someone tune, I think, other than the strangers putting that guy to sleep.
Yeah.
He telekinetically blasts the box open and gets his wallet.
Yeah,
out.
he has. It's like little waves of power from his forehead or whatever, busted open.
Yeah.
He gets rescued from the cops by a lady who basically tells him to stop tells the cops to stop hassling the guy or whatever.
Yeah, the local sex worker, her name's May. She smiled at him when he went into the automat, and then as he comes out, she basically rescues him from the cops, and she takes him to her red light apartment across the street. And the cops basically, once they know he's just a good old man down here to solicit a prostitute, they just leave him on his way.
Yeah, best to leave.
They must be getting kickbacks or something.
And then he has like a few weird flashbacks where he like at that point there's some flashbacks in his mind like of him like cutting someone or whatever, like this. I don't know. It just seemed weird and off.
Does he have a flashback there? Okay, I missed that. If he did,
And then he goes into the apartment and there's a fish in the tub.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. Okay.
Did you miss the fish in the tub?
Oh no! That is his apartment because we cut back over to the detectives.
Oh, okay.
That's not May's apartment.
Okay, maybe I'm just totally not paying close enough attention.
That's his apartment because Inspector Bumstead is asking the deputies is what kind of killer stops to save a goldfish.
Okay,
so
my bad.
Yeah, you're transposing the two scenes because we are cutting back and forth between
them. It was not clear what was going on.
I think you were taking a note.
I might have been, but I will say that this movie in general, it's not intuitive to follow. You really gotta keep tabs on everybody, and the story is not until the end. The last half of the movie is straightforward.
Okay.
The first half of the movie, there's a lot of setup and it's meandering.
Yeah, and there's a lot of jumping back and forth.
Yeah,
because we also hear about Bumstead's partner Walensky and how he's kind of lost the plot.
Yeah, he's gone mad or whatever. He's a weirdo.
He bursts in there. He wants to talk to Bumstead, and the uniform cops like basically just drag him out of there. And then we cut over to Walensky's office, and he's got like the conspiracy theorist corkboard, and Bumstead. There's a lot of allusions to like this case is just a mess, and he's inheriting it from his partner that went crazy trying to solve it. And right around this time, Emma shows up in the police station, and she goes to Inspector Bumstead to say she wants to file a missing persons report, which is not really what inspectors do.
Yeah.
But it's of particular interest to him because of who the missing person is. It's his person of interest in this murder.
It's a murderer. Of course I'll help you find him.
Yeah, and so he just goes in right away questioning her. He's like, here's a list of dead prostitutes. Do you know any of them? And she's like, I made a mistake coming here.
Yeah, of course you did.
then we cut back over to May's apartment.
And he's in there. She's getting naked. And he ends up bailing on her. Pretty simple.
Yeah, he's kind of asking her questions like, how does she know that he's not the murderer? And she's like, well, you don't seem like a killer type. Is there something I should know about you? In the director's cut, she has a little girl in the apartment. Oh. And that is sort of what triggers him to leave. Like, he sees her daughter kind of peeking in from the side room.
Mom of the year.
Yeah, and he gets sort of creeped and leaves. That girl is just erased from the theatrical version of the movie.
Probably for the best.
I think she's important later, so I wish she was there. But you don't really miss her in this scene in particular. Anyways, John bails because he's not a murderer, apparently.
And then he like walks. Next thing you see, he's walking up. Like there's like this big sign with like a lady waving on the beach, and it's like a metal sign or whatever.
Yeah, it's advertising Shell Beach, which he has a postcard for visiting Shell Beach.
Yeah.
And so it's and he has like vague memories of Shell Beach. So he's drawn into the billboard. He climbs up there to investigate. And then once he gets up there, he realizes his pocket and his overcoat is filled with newspaper clippings about all these murders. And he starts to have like existential crisis. And then that is interrupted by the strangers, Richard O'Brien and his other goons. They show up and
a kid stranger.
Yeah, what's his name? Mr. Sleep?
Yeah, I don't know.
Mr. Sleep is thoroughly creepy. He's a very creepy little kid.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and then he Murdoch has mind bullets. We saw it before in the automat, and now he's like fighting these dudes, and they have knives. Pretty cool, like switchblade knives, and they're like trying to fight him. He's using mind bullets.
Yeah,
telekinesis.
He can.
Style.
This is probably the. This is the first time I think we hear that word tuning. And more or less, most of them are taken out by the billboard. They're taken out either by the contraptions that make it move or by the actual motorized billboard, because the arm of the lady chops the top of the head off one of the strangers. And a weird CG squid crawls out of it. And basically John gets away from all of them.
Yeah, and they have names like Mr. Quick, Mr. Block, Mr. Hand. It's these weird names.
Yeah, just totally made up names with no rhyme or reason to them.
Yeah.
So we cut from there down into the subterranean lair of the strangers as they all discuss the situation with Murdoch. They're all not pleased. They're nonplussed about this. There's a guy he can tune, and Dr. Sherber hasn't been checking in lately. They kind of want to keep this hush hush from Mr. Book, who's the head stranger.
It's also Mr. Old.
But they have a hive mind, so there's really no secrets in this world.
It's like, you guys are dumb.
Yeah. If they're like, does Mr. Book know? Well, the rest of us know, so I guess he knows because we're all plugged into the same hive mind. And Mr. Book shows up.
Are these guys mind flayers? They have hive mind too. They mind wipe people.
A mind flayer would... See, the thing is, a mind flayer has like a real face.
That's true.
Right? A mind flayer...
I've just been watching Stranger Things, so...
Oh, yeah.
The mind flayer.
It does...
It kind of seems like that.
It dabbles. It dabbles in the D&D lore.
Yeah.
Yeah. He wants Murdoch captured. We cut over to the Murdoch apartment, and John is there waiting for Emma when she comes out of the shower.
Yeah.
There's a missing scene here from the director's cut where Bumstead drives her home.
Okay.
I think it matters because we look out the window and see Bumstead's car is out there, and it's remarked upon. And I was like, oh, they cut the scene where they drive there.
Well, later on, like, he's like, whose car is that? And he's like, oh, just the cop that drove me home.
Yeah. So John confronts Emma Emma thinks John is punishing her for having an affair. Reasonable assumption. But actually, he's just...
Can't remember.
He can't remember anything, and he's skeptical of every story, basically.
He's like, "You're my wife?" She's like, "Of course."
Yeah, he's like, well, I've got a picture of you in my wallet, but I'm suspicious that you're my wife.
Yeah.
And she tells him about Dr. Sherber. And, cut over to Dr. Sherber. He's down at the local health club, swimming in a T-shirt like a fat kid.
Yeah, he's like the YMCA. Mm-hmm. It's good times.
And his rest and relaxation is interrupted by the strangers. They don't like moisture, but he's been hard to track down, so they had to come to the pool to see him. Mm-hmm. And they found the broken syringe in Murdoch's room, so they know he did not successfully implant the memories into John Murdoch. And they want him to make a new batch of the same memories that he was going to implant in Murdoch. Mm-hmm. And he just grovels pitifully.
Yeah, he's very hateable. He is a toady.
He's a sniveling worm. He's
like a Grima worm tongue.
Mm-hmm. He's totally, yeah.
Yeah, he's just that guy.
He has that persona. It's unlikable, but I think this is a good Kiefer Sutherland performance.
It's a good performance. It's just like, man.
It's way out of line with the stuff he usually does. Like, he's usually more like of a Chad, right? Like,
yeah, he's supposed to be.
He's more of a heroic sort of leading man guy, and he's a real weasel in this movie.
Yeah, I just think that like Kiefer Sutherland was in some of my favorite movies. Like, he was in Lost Boys, he was in Young Guns. Mm-hmm. Why is he got to be this guy? Like, come on.
I think sometimes when a guy,
we should do westerns, and Young Guns has to be on it.
I've never seen it.
Okay, so Divers, what do you think? Do we make a series of movies Nick has never seen that are
the ones that I need to see? I mean,
like,
that would be my favorite series, because I love a reason to watch the movies I haven't seen.
Because we get John Wick, mm-hmm. we get Young Guns. Like, we could get some good ones on this stuff.
But sometimes it ends up like Top Gun, and I watched that movie, and then I was like, well, I know exactly why I never had seen it before, and I could have never seen this movie.
It's just like a bro homoerotic fantasy military worship.
Yeah, I mean, that actually, the homoerotic part of it is the most watchable content of the movie.
I didn't say that with the negative context.
It's like, well, at least it's really gay.
Yeah, whatever. A love story is a love story.
Yeah. Oh, that's a bad movie. But it makes me understand America better.
Sure.
But anyway, I was saying, sometimes when you're a Kiefer Sutherland, playing a weasel is like
Flatliners.
I never get to play a weasel.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, it gives him a chance to play something outside of his comfort zone and go for a thing and be a limping Nazi scientist and like an Igor. Yeah. And like, I think he had a good time. So like, I'm into it. I'm into Kiefer Sutherland, Nazi scientist.
Oh God. So we cut to John Murdoch, mm-hmm. and basically he tells his wife he went to a prostitute.
Yeah.
But he didn't kill her.
Yeah.
So he's a good guy.
Yeah.
Can we get good guy points for not killing prostitutes?
I try to play that card, and it never goes over the way you hope.
Yeah.
I went to see one of those women, but I didn't murder her. Like, what? That didn't sound the way you thought it would, John.
And then she's like, but the cops are after you. And it's just like, I don't know. It's kind of a weird conversation.
Yeah. Both of them are like, they're both confused.
They're head scrambled.
They're both head scrambled. John looks out the window. He sees the car, and she's like, oh yeah, that's the cop that drove me here. Mm-hmm. And he's like, oh shit, the cops are here because there's no one in the car. He bursts out in the hallway. Of course, Inspector Bumstead is there in the hall. John starts to explain the situation and gets like 3 lines into it when he realizes how crazy it sounds. And he's like, you know what? I'll just jump down the stairs.
Yeah, and the cop pulls a gun on him.
Yeah, and Emma gives him a shove.
I really liked this stairway thing. Like for some reason, like they had those in that one building in Blade Runner, and I just kind of like that kind of architecture.
It's really cool, like, and it's a cool thing to shoot a scene in.
Yeah.
And luckily, our next movie, The Matrix, we
Use
get
the
to
exact
see,
same
we get to see
stairs.
those stairs again.
Perfect.
Because they probably even still had like the tracks for running the camera through them and stuff.
Yeah, why would you take those off?
Hey, that's just good financial sense. John gets to the bottom, dead end, but he tunes himself a door like the Bugs Bunny.
Yeah, so when I saw this, I was like, okay, is this when the Roadrunner pulls out a paintbrush and paints himself a tunnel through the mountain and then runs through it, and then Wile E. Coyote runs into the side of the mountain and it's just a painted tunnel?
Yeah, except for the tunnel disappears when he gets rid of it.
Okay.
But yes, essentially it is that same thing. He opens up
it's some Looney Tunes.
Mm-hmm. Well, he's doing the Neo thing, not, you know.
He is the one.
He's rewriting the code of the program. Mm-hmm. The strangers, we find out, reshape the city every night at midnight, and he has the same abilities as them.
Yeah, he is a Mr. Smith.
Yeah, and so he gets into a cab and takes off out of there, and the cabbie has a snow globe on the dashboard for Shell Beach, and he's like, "Have you been to Shell Beach?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, I went on my honeymoon there." "How do you get there?" And he can't remember it.
He can't figure it out.
Yeah. And this is a reoccurring thing. No one knows everyone knows about Shell Beach. No one knows how to get there.
Yeah. Kind of drive around the city. Mm-hmm. It's just a perpetual nighttime.
Yeah, it is always nighttime. Bumstead at the bottom of the stairs. He didn't catch Murdoch, but he did get the business card for Dr. Schreiber. Or Schreiber. I'm never going to get that name right. He goes to visit Kiefer Sutherland, and Kiefer just stonewalls him.
Yeah.
Doesn't give him any information. And Murdoch was on the same path. He's also going there, and he basically just waits for the inspector to leave and then starts tailing.
Yeah, it's kind of creeping.
Yeah.
At this point in the movie, I was like, this is not Cyberpunk at all.
Not at all.
It checks 0 boxes. Like, tangentially, mind wiping, the lighting, the sound. I don't know. There's no techno stuff. There's no electronic. There's no jacking in. There's no internet. I mean, I have yet to see a phone, right? No, we have phones.
Yeah, we have good old dial-up rotary phones.
Yeah.
No, I totally agree. I didn't remember the movie very clearly, but similarly, there's nothing. Even the high technology stuff is very like German expressionist gears, and like the high tech stuff is low tech.
Yeah,
it
exactly.
doesn't, and it's like they implant memories with a syringe filled with dye. It's not like a chip that's plugged in. It's not like a flash drive. There's no cyber anything.
Yeah, it's super low tech. So basically, the inspector he goes to the detective's place. He goes to meet up with his old partner.
Yeah, Walensky,
and he's drawing on the walls and making spirals. And he says that he's been all over the city, and no matter where you go or what you do, you cannot leave the city.
Yeah, he's got drawings of the strangers on the walls. He's dropping a lot of like accurate exposition about what's going on, but it just sounds like crazy talk.
Yeah.
Basically, he's like the first person. He's the John the Baptist, right? To our Murdoch's Jesus, where he's had the revelation prematurely and no one's ready for it yet. Murdoch follows the doctor. He gets to a dead end, and then a door appears on the wall, and the doctor goes in, and he gets in like one of the doom buggies from the Haunted Mansion at Disneyland.
Oh yeah,
and rides it down into the tunnels.
I was like, that is the hokiest little trolley thing I've ever seen. And like, I guess in the making of, like, they were running out of money and they couldn't really do this how they wanted to do it, and so
it's literally like
lo-fi.
For most of those shots, it is a model with puppets. It's not even real, like a real person in a full size thing.
Yeah, it's nuts. It does not look awesome.
Yeah, and they go down into the underworld, and the strangers are down there, like building, like Santa's workshop style, building personal items to plant in people's houses for the backstories that they're giving them. They're like making diaries and heirlooms and stuff, and we get to see how Dr. Sherber crafts memories, and it's very like colored dyes like that represent different
I think we call him
memories.
Dr. Sherbert from now
Dr.
on.
Sherbert?
Yeah.
All right. I'm on board
I
with
like
this.
sherbet, so at least it's a positive reinforcement.
Even that's a weird thing though, because we don't pronounce it the way
The sherbet.
Yeah, the way it's spelled.
Yeah.
But anyways, Dr. Sherbert, Mr. Book shows up to intimidate Dr. Sherbert, and he starts questioning him about Murdoch, about, he doesn't believe that, a human can learn their gifts and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And Sherbert's like, oh, maybe he's the next step in human evolution. Isn't that what you want out of this little ant farm or whatever he calls it? Mm-hmm. And Mr. Book tunes him off.
A zoo.
Oh, a zoo. That's right.
And they're
you
looking,
called it an ant farm.
I called it the alien ant farm. And these guys are looking for the human soul, that which makes us different and why we are unique individuals and not just a hive mind.
Yeah, because somehow it's the key to their survival is understanding human individuality.
Well, because then they can be like us. They can be individuals or something like that.
Yeah, but that doesn't really
Doesn't
make any sense as far as why are they dying or any of that stuff. That's never
The movie
explained.
doesn't make sense. The core motivation of the bad guys is not logical.
I'll give you that. And so right about then, it's time for the clock to hit midnight again. Because we're just running on a 12-hour clock, and when it hits midnight, everyone goes to sleep. And we see what the tuning is like from the point of view of the strangers. While they build people new lives, they remake the city, and our guy John stays awake through the whole thing, and it's all fairly traumatic to him.
Well, and it's pretty dope because during the tuning, we have the opening sequence from the Game of Thrones TV show where all the little buildings are building
grow up?
Yeah.
Okay.
They grow and move and shrink. And as a castle gets taken or destroyed, it shrinks down into the earth. It's just like that.
Yeah, I think, obviously effects have advanced a lot since then, but just the concept and the execution, I think it's done really well.
It's pretty good.
And it's suitably freaky. Like if you are watching this, like we see a couple and it's like the guy, he's complaining about his job on the night shift at the plant or whatever. And then they remake their lives where he's like some sort of executive.
Yeah, he's rich.
And they live in a giant mansion. Like they make their little tenement apartment into a giant mansion.
And the table gets bigger and silver platters are on it.
And the whole thing is just like they're playing Sims with these real life people.
It's totally Looney Tunes.
Yeah, and it's all fairly bizarre and weird. The doctor comes out. He's with a couple of strangers, and they've got an unconscious man. And Murdoch watches the whole thing while they take him to his new job at the barbershop, plunk him down in the chair, inject him with memories,
like right in the forehead.
Right in the forehead. Yeah, it's very that's very uncomfortable.
Yeah, and the doctor's doing this stuff too. He's injecting people.
Yeah.
And then basically Murdoch catches Sherbert and he uses the tuning to fling him back.
Yeah.
And he's like, the doc is like, I can help you learn to use your abilities.
Yeah, he basically makes the pitch of like, you're special. I know how to help you. You just need to trust me and let me implant you with new memories that I made for you. And who would trust this guy? He has a droopy eye. It's already been established. Droopy-eyed guys are untrustworthy.
And he already named himself a traitor to his own race in the voiceover.
Yeah. So you would absolutely never trust him.
No.
Then the clock chimes again. I don't know how long we have between 12s, but time is up and the world resumes.
Yes.
John hauls out of there, and the strangers kind of come over to Dr. Sherbert, and he's very grovelly for them again, like about how John attacked him, and there's nothing he could do, blah, blah, blah.
And then you cut to the nightclub again, and you have Emma singing, and it's very Groundhog's Day.
Yeah, and because
I actually like that movie. That's a really good movie.
Groundhog Day is a very good movie. And Inspector Bumstead is there watching Emma sing. Dr. Sherbert
and Inspector Bumsteak.
And the strangers...
I'm just trying to have fun with this because this movie's a little droll.
The strangers are... they're very frustrated because they weren't able to set up all the experiments they wanted because somehow, like, where John is, they don't have influence or something like that. Mm-hmm. He's pushing back against them, and this is really peeing in their Cheerios. So Mr. Hand has an extreme idea, but it's time for extreme solutions. They're going to inject Mr. Hand with the serial killer persona that they were going to inject John with, and then he can follow the implanted memories along the same trail of clues that hypothetically John is also following. What could go wrong?
This is flawless logic.
I think...
Let's inject our guy with the memories we failed to inject the other guy with, and it will give us clues. Mm-hmm. Okay.
I think this is definitely going to work very well. Mm-hmm. And Mr. Sleep and Mr.
This is like 12-year-old logic.
Mr. Whatever, the tall one. They all think it's a bad idea, but...
Mr. Book is like, we're doing it, and Mr. Hand is like, I'm down.
Yeah, he wants it. John finally reads the back of the postcard for Shell Beach and discovers it's from his Uncle Carl. And so he decides he's going to go pay Uncle Carl a visit. Along the way, he meets the old hotel receptionist who now runs a newsstand.
Yeah.
And it's just a little weird, like the way people are moved around. But we at this point, we understand how everything works.
And we get a few scenes of Mr. Hand, like, creeping in the city, like, following Murdoch around and stuff.
Yeah, because basically now he has the persona of a serial killer. So the first thing he does is goes to May, who was John's first intended victim.
Yeah.
And she becomes his first victim. Like the other strangers are like, the way you're acting is illogical. And he's like, oh, human instinct is illogical. Give me the room. I need to murder this lady. And so, he's become a full on like killer, horror movie monster, basically.
Yeah.
John tries to get to Shell Beach on the subway, but the subway just goes all around the city and you can never leave.
Yeah, it never goes back. Mm-hmm. He meets the crazy cop guy in the train station, and he explains the memory thing to Murdoch. He just tells him straight up.
Sometimes one of us wakes up while they're implanting memories, and then they come looking for you. And then
he's like, and I figured out the ultimate way out. And he jumps in front of a train.
Yeah, he was ahead of his time. If he had just, been a little bit later, he could have been helpful. But he is already kind of cuckoo bananas.
Yeah, he's a little out there.
He's already lost it by this time.
Yeah, and so like
the strangers go to Murdoch's apartment to check on Emma. But she's not there, but Mr. Hand knows that she probably goes down to the waterfront, which is where her and John first met. So he goes to creep on her there.
And he talks to her. He's like, this is where I met my wife.
Yeah, and tells her...
Small world.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird scene.
But it gives Emma the idea to go to the automat. She goes to the automat and then goes to the red light apartment across the street because she's like, oh, this must be the home of the prostitute that John went to visit.
Of course.
She should be an inspector.
Yeah. Or a prostitute because she has an eye for her good homes.
Porque no los dos.
Yeah. Inspector Prostitute. That's amazing.
Yeah. I mean,
we're just turning this up to 11.
Anyways, she gets there, finds May has been carved up serial killer style, and Inspector Bumstank is right behind her.
It's like, gotcha!
Because he's been tailing her. So it's like everyone is just following each other around Dark City. Meanwhile, John gets to Uncle Carl's aquarium, busts out the window because that's what a reasonable person does, and Uncle Carl luckily doesn't shoot him immediately on sight. He's excited to see him, and they break out the family slideshow,
the old projector,
and start running through memories.
And he tells him his parents died, and that it's just they're just talking about, oh yeah, you grew up in Shell Beach.
Yeah, he's getting all this story, and it kind of pieces are coming together, and he almost wants to buy it, right? Until he sees a picture of himself as a kid, and he has a big burn on his arm from the house fire he survived. Mm-hmm. And then IRL, in the future, he has no scar on the arm. So he knows all these memories are lies. None of this is real. Uncle Carl isn't real. None of this stuff is real.
All of this is implanted. Uncle Carl is just there to literally be a brainwash to him.
Yeah. They...
I wanted to like Uncle Carl. He seemed nice.
I like Uncle Carl. Uncle Carl's... He just wants to help Johnny Boy.
Yeah, he's a scammer, though.
He's not a scammer. He's implanted memories.
He's a what is it? Manchurian Candidate. He's a sleeper.
Yeah. Well, the whole city is full of sleepers. Yeah. Bumstead, he calls the station, and he and Emma, about the there's a new murder, and he and Emma, they leave and they have a little chat about his accordion.
And I was like, I can't remember when my mother gave it to me.
Yeah. And because everyone's got the seeds of doubt now.
And it's like a super nice accordion. It's like really high end.
Mm-hmm. And you would
remember
probably
that.
know when you got it.
Yeah,
but
like,
he just vaguely
someone
knows.
gave me like a sweet ass guitar, I wouldn't remember. I would remember when I got that.
Yeah. So it was the seed of doubt that Walensky planted in him, right? Where he says, do you ever think about your past? Like not abstractly, but about specific memories. But no one has really deep memories because they're just all constantly getting scrambled. John kind of goes into his childhood bedroom, and he's checking things out, and his little like notebook is empty. There's no drawings in it.
And he's like, why is it always nighttime, Uncle Carl?
Yeah, he's been up for days at this point. He hasn't slept. He's starting to get a little kooky.
Man, have you ever been up for 48, 50 hour, like it just plays crazy.
I don't think I've ever quite made it that. Maybe it's 24.
Nuts.
I'm pretty, when you start getting over that, getting close to 20 hours of being awake, you're real kooky.
I'm good for an overnighter. Like once I get the sun the next morning, I hit my second wind and I'm good. But then I collapse about 7 or 8 the next night.
Yeah.
But if you push beyond that, you get to Murdoch territory.
Yeah.
He is off his rocker at this point.
He's losing it. But he hears Carl calls Emma. And so Emma and Bumstank are on the way, but Mr. Hand was floating like a creeper outside the window, so he's on the way too.
Yep.
And then it's midnight
again,
so everyone goes to sleep.
I like that he flies like a vampire.
Yeah,
they look like vampires.
They're very Gothic, right?
Oh yeah, I really like it. They're like Spacing Guild operators.
There's
like a Dune subplot in this because he's the Kwisatz Haderach.
The costumes for the strangers, not their street clothes where they wear overcoats and fedoras, but like their Hellraiser gear that they wear down in the underground is very David Lynchy.
Oh yeah, I bet Alex Proyas is a Lynch fan.
Yeah, I think so. I think there's a lot of Lynchisms in this movie.
Most filmmakers are David Lynch fans, right?
Mm-hmm. So everyone is converging on Carl's, but our normal civilians conk out when it's 12 o'clock. So they're behind Mr. Hand. And, John flees when Uncle Carl falls asleep, and he goes up on the roof and he does the whole running across the rooftops, the same rooftops Trinity runs across
Crow
in the Matrix.
And the Matrix. And I
don't think it's the same from The Crow, but
it's definitely the same shot.
It definitely looks like the scene from The Crow where it's not Brandon Lee, but the stuntman runs across the rooftops.
Should have had a stuntman for that final scene
in The Crow.
Yeah,
like where he dies.
Yeah,
I don't know. That's like wishing death on the stuntman.
mean better you than me is kind of the way it goes, right?
You're taking some bold takes this episode. So he's running across the rooftops. Mr. Hand shows up and drops the last of the villain explanation, where he explains kind of, we use dead bodies as vessels, and he just like anything that we weren't up to speed on, Mr. Hand tells John all about it.
Yeah.
And then they get separated by the buildings growing and morphing, and there's just a lot of cool like building morphing scenes. Some strangers get crushed between buildings.
I think you need air quotes for cool.
I like this stuff. Mr. Sleep bites him on the hand. It's gross and creepy.
Yeah, like the kid has a knife in his hand.
Mm-hmm.
He could have stabbed him, but no, he chomps him.
It's much creepier to have a little kid bite his hand.
It's true. I feel like if a little kid stabbed me in the hand, that'd be pretty gnarly. But if he just bit me, I'd be just pissed me off.
But he's not a little. He's
That's true.
He's a dead body with a squid in its brain.
That's true. That's true.
He's just like a flesh suit being piloted by an alien squid.
Wow, that's next level.
And so John escapes. He uses morphing buildings to his advantage. The bell chimes. It's 12 noon, I guess, even though it's always
I think
night.
the day starts at noon every day.
But it's always nighttime.
Yeah.
And Bumstank and Emma show up to rescue John. He jumps in their car, and he's immediately arrested and taken in for questioning.
I know, I was like, oh my God, you idiot. Don't get in the thing with the car, with the cop. And why, Emma, are you working with the cops? They're trying to arrest your husband. She's a Judas.
The thing is, none of them are anything, right? Like
that's true. They're just people.
But
one has a gun and handcuffs.
That's true. So he's probably a useful guy in this situation. And he's one of the more tuned in people, pun not intended.
Yeah, he's not actually tuned in.
Yeah. But he's at least questioning the situation. And he's interrogating John, and John flips it around and starts asking him questions like, what do you know about your past? How do you get to Shell Beach? No one knows how to get there. Look, I can make a book float with my mind. That's pretty weird. And Bumstead's like, yeah, this is all too weird for me. Back to the lockup with you while I think about it.
That just pissed me off. I was like, seriously, you have the Quits-ass Hatterack in your place, and you just lock him up.
The programming is strong.
Yeah.
It's like he's trying to make everything fit with his shitty program.
And like Emma, they have one of those prison scenes where they're talking on the phone through the glass, and Emma apologizes that she got him locked up, but she wants to be forgiven. And
he's like, you know what?
I don't think we've ever seen each other before.
Yeah,
we don't even know each other.
All this stuff you said, you never cheated on me. None of this ever happened. We've just all had these memories implanted.
And I'm not a murderer. They tried to make me one, but I never was.
And she cries, and she convinces him of her love. Like, she's like, you can't fake this feeling that I have for you. And he's like, you know what? You're right. And he tunes the window, shatters it.
Boom.
They have a triumphant kiss before he's dragged back to his jail cell.
Yeah, at this point, I looked at the clock. I was like, 35 more minutes. Maybe 4 of that's credits. I don't know.
We're in the home stretch.
We are.
The deputy from earlier comes in, tells Bumstead that Walensky killed himself,
and that Bumstead's shoe is untied.
Yeah, which was a
thing in the beginning.
It's a flip because the deputy's shoe was untied earlier, and Bumstead, who's always put together,
squared away.
Yeah, he's starting to lose it. The shoe untied symbolizes his mind unraveling. So he does not go to see the chief. Instead, he goes and gets Murdoch out of jail.
Yep.
And the strangers show up and just start putting cops to sleep left and right. They're like, sleep.
Take us to Murdoch.
Sleep. They go see the chief. They go to get Murdoch. He's out of the cell. Hand kills the chief.
So brutal. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well. Sucks to be chief.
Yeah. And Mr. Hand is extremely gnarly
Richard O'Brien in this movie is one of my favorite things. Like,
Okay.
I love him anyway from Rocky Horror Fond Memories, and like I just like him as this spooky version of Agent Smith from The Matrix, where he's like Mr. Murdoch and slicing people up and stuff. I love Richard O'Brien.
Yeah, he's pretty good in this.
We go back to the pool because that's where Dr. Sherbert likes to hang out. He likes to soak in the pool in his shirt. And John confronts him. And Sherbert is like, I'm sorry to do this, John, but I've got to pull a Mauser pistol on you. And just let me inject you with these cool memories I made up. And everything will be solved if you just let me stick you again.
Yep. He does do a little explaining that we already knew. Like, these are extraterrestrials who use corpses as their hosts and blah, 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 blah. And they have a hive mind and yada, yada, yada. Let me inject you.
And Bumstead is there in the shadows. Sherbert doesn't know he's there. And he pulls a gun on him. And he's like, you know what? How about we don't? How about we all go to Shell Beach, right?
Yeah. He's like, no, we can't go to Shell Beach. I've been there.
It's like, we're all going to go to Shell Beach. They take the syringe with the memories.
I want to say whatever car they used, I tried to Google it. I thought that was a pretty rad car. It's like an old black, kind of look like maybe like a Plymouth or something. Just looked really
I didn't
cool.
look into that. I like the cars. I like basically all the design choices.
Yeah, cars from the 30s are cool.
Definitely. Emma gets home and catches the strangers in the middle of building her new identity.
Yeah.
they're remodeling her apartment. Her new name is Anna, and they're just getting things set up for her. And
welcome, Anna. Live, laugh, love.
And Mr. Hand's like, I've got something to do with her first, and he absconds with her.
Yep.
Bumstead, John, and Sherbert, they get in a rowboat and they're going to row their way to Shell Beach.
And at this point, this is when Sherbert is like, Murdoch, you're an anomaly. You inadvertently woke up and blah, blah, blah. He basically, and he tells them that they put the murderer thing in hand. At this point, basically, Sherbert has, he's flipped.
Yeah.
He is now nobody's friend. Nobody actually likes him.
It is true.
He's a turncloak. He's Theon.
Oh, I always forget because my cat is named Theon. I always forget that Theon is not.
It's a negative name.
It is because it is entirely changed my mind. It's like the sweetest cat is called Theon.
Yeah, that's the thing. Your cat,
and so
who I call Reek, is an amazingly nice cat.
Yeah. So anytime someone says, "Oh, like Theon," and I go, like the best boy in the house.
He reminds me of Jet with how friendly he is.
Totally. You're right. Dr. Sherbert, he's a hostage to the good guys, and he seems.
I mean, air quotes, good guys. I don't know.
The protagonists.
These guys.
You don't think they're very good?
I'm way more Mr. Hand.
Your team Hand. Ever since he became a serial killer, he's been a lot more fun.
Interesting. Him and Mr. Sleep or whatever his name is.
The little kid?
Yeah. Those guys are interesting. I want to know what they're thinking.
Fair point. So they wrote, like, the outskirts of the city are very apocalyptic. It's like where they put the buildings they're not using anymore. And so it's like the city's very unfinished out there.
It's like a movie lot.
It's all creepy. They get to some more dry land and get to the edge of the simulation, and it's just a big poster on a wall. There's no Shell Beach there. It's a brick wall with a poster, and they grab up sledgehammers and start busting on the wall.
Why didn't he use his mind powers to break through the wall?
He does to finish it.
Yeah.
But first, he's got to get the stress relief of hammering the wall.
And then you see that there's a force field out in space surrounding this thing, and you realize this is just an ant farm.
Dark City.
In space.
Dark City, they always talk about the Truman Show when they talk about flat Earth. Dark City's a better example of a flat Earth.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's like a whole flat Earth simulation that they're in.
Have you ever met a flat earther in real life? I haven't.
No. Maybe a hollow earther.
That'd be pretty cool.
Those, or do you know?
How about a ring worlder?
There's some cool ones out there. There's cooler ones than Flatter.
Yeah.
Hollow Earth is cooler because they use it in Godzilla versus Kong.
Yeah.
The Hollow Earth is where Kong rules. So I like that one.
Yeah, I'm down with Kong.
Anyways, the strangers show up. They've got Emma with them. They have a little bit of a standoff, but Bumstead just starts blasting people, and him and the tall stranger, Mr. Tall, they get sucked out into deep space, and they just go floating out there.
Yeah, later.
Yeah, and what else? What goes on there? Oh, the strangers basically take Murdoch into custody.
Yeah, they
doesn't
capture him
to save Emma, because Mr. Hand explains, I've got the memories that were intended for you, and they're for the memories of a guy who likes carving up women. Do you want me to carve up this woman? No. And so he goes with them. Mm-hmm. And they go down into the tunnels, and they put Murdoch into into the big same contraption that they put Mr. Hand into. And Sherber, he gets wheeled out there in his Hannibal Lecter GIMP harness, and he pulls a switcheroo and injects the memories that he intended for Murdoch instead of the ones they want him to be injected with, which what they want to do is incorporate him into their hive mind.
Yeah, because he's the culmination of their experiment.
Yeah. And so they want to absorb him and then become him.
And become people.
Because then they'll be able to live.
Whatever.
Yeah, whatever. Because actually, face turn for Dr. Sherbert, he wasn't lying. He had a whole training scenario memory scheme loaded up in this syringe.
He is Morpheus the whole damn movie.
Yeah.
He started as Morpheus when he tells Agent Mr. Anderson to run away, and then he teaches him Kung Fu in a simulation.
Yeah, he loads him up with a simulation where he learns to use his powers throughout his whole lifetime, and he's been there at every step,
master of
guiding
the powers.
him.
And Sherbert tells him in the dream, he's like, this seems weird because it is. I made this so that you would be a master of your powers with a lifetime of experience. Mm-hmm. And then he's like, I know Kung Fu.
Right? He frees himself, and we have a big psychokinetic fight, right? We tear up the underworld. They go up and they fight in the sky. That is to say, Mr. Book and Mr. Murdoch. They have their whole mind battle flying around the city.
I mean, it sounds amazing. When we talk about it, it's actually more amazing. Nick's description is more amazing than the actual movie, because really what it is two guys standing and staring at each other while making faces. The actor's making Total Recall faces at each other, and then there's special effects with rippling energy going from person to person, and then they fly up and more happens, and then they go back down and more happens. But really, it's just some special effects and some face acting. It's not very exciting.
No.
This is no Neo dodging bullets and fighting Agent Smith.
No, definitely not.
This is no The Crow fighting in a church steeple on a wet rooftop. That's way more exciting.
It is, because it's more visceral. I like, if we're being honest about this stuff, while we're in the underground, in that cool sort of Fritz Lang Metropolis set that they have down there, and stuff is blowing up and people are flying through the sky, when it's real practical effects, I think it's really strong.
Yeah. When
they take off into the sky and like you said, they're leaning forward and making faces at each other.
Yeah.
While rudimentary CG effects are added, it's less.
It's like womp 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 womp.
Yeah,
womp.
it's less impressive.
Yeah.
It's this movie is always stronger when it's the practical effects than when it leans into the CG.
And Mr. Book dies in the most epic of ways that I could possibly think of. If you gave me a $27 million budget, a writer's room, and lots of edits, he mentally flings a knife into the other guy, who then flies into a water tower, which collapses behind him.
Oh, they don't like water.
That's an amazing death. Definitely couldn't have thought of anything cooler than that.
But then the squid crawls out of his head, and the squid dies because they don't like water.
I want an MST3K on this movie.
You know what? That would get you a lot of hate because it's a beloved movie. And there is plenty of
to like.
There's plenty of videos.
There's also plenty to make fun of.
Yeah. It didn't even, because I would be honest, I sort of check out when we get into the trash circle in the sky part of the movie. And so it didn't even occur to me until you said it out loud that the reason he dies is because of the water from the water tower.
Yeah.
That just didn't, I just totally missed that because like once they start flying around, I'm like, okay.
Well, I was thinking,
how long do we watch this?
How are we going to have like a cool ass death scene for the king of the strangers?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, mentally flung knife into a water tower? The fuck? Come on, Proyas. I've seen better fight scenes out of you.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Whack. So afterwards, now, just like the Matrix, Murdoch, he's the one. He's, like you said, the quick sex Satarak. He
quick sex Hatterack.
what is
prostitute guy?
The quick sex Hatterack.
Yeah.
I was with one of those women. He goes down. He has a little talk with Dr. Sherbert. He's like, you know what? You came through in the end. Good job, Sherbert.
It's like, not bad, crazy eye.
And he's like, what are you going to do, John? Like in his Renfield voice. And
yeah, he's totally Renfield.
Yeah. And John is like, you know what? I'm the one, so I'm going to remake the world. And he just, sets about fixing things. Mm-hmm. He gets some bad news that they already reimplanted Emma with Anna.
Yeah, so, she's not Emma anymore.
Yeah, and his lab is destroyed, so he can't make up a new Emma brain for her. So he's stuck with Anna.
Well, and the one somehow doesn't have the power to remake the lab.
Dave, why are you poking holes in the?
Because this is it. It's very obvious. If you have the power, you have the power, right?
The power is for reshaping the above ground city,
my
not for the stuff on the bottom of
the ant farm.
Of the bottom of the ant farm.
Gotcha.
So he builds a city. He puts an ocean around it.
Yes, he brings water to Arrakis.
Mm-hmm.
He makes it like Caladan.
And he builds himself a shell beach, the town that he grew up in. Mm-hmm. And, we get some scenes of Anna kind of going about her business.
And Schreiber is creeping. He's watching Anna, like from a hidden vantage.
Yeah, he's...
The hell?
Once a creep, always a creep. Think about it. It's like very little has actually changed. Most people are just going to continue running their simulations.
Was just whatever the last sim was.
Yeah.
There'll just be no more tuning.
Yeah. So whatever people are now, whatever scrambled reality, they're all going to just go about their lives. And John's kind of, his big thing is he gives them a daytime. He tips the ant farm towards the sun so they can at least have 12 hours of daylight. And
revolutionary.
He walks out there to Shell Beach, and he runs into Anna and acts like he doesn't know her, and they kind of walk off together.
Have you seen the movie 50 First Dates?
Is that Adam Sandler joint?
Mm-hmm. This like this
in passing. Like I haven't. I've never watched it, but it's been on.
Yeah, it's not worth watching. I mean, it's okay.
Yeah,
it's got Drew Barrymore. She's good.
Sure.
Anyway,
so
they do that.
That's basically the end of the movie.
It's a little more Groundhogs. This is only one time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, yeah. So they walk off he introduces himself as they walk to Shell Beach, and there they are.
And now he is now the benevolent god of Dark City.
Yeah. Now he gets to be the god, and he gets to pretend he's just a regular Joe and hit on Anna. Mm-hmm. That's a power dynamic.
It's a little uncomfortable.
Belies consent.
If you,
it really undermines it.
But if we're gonna just give it the romantic benefit of the doubt, he believes that they have like a soulmate connection.
Oh, okay, they're soulmates. Yeah, because I guess if you take it from his perspective, if you had a soulmate and they lost their mind and you didn't, you might try to approach them like calmly.
Yeah.
And just be like, hey.
Yeah, talk to them. Yeah. You can't be like, you'll never believe what's happened over the last
guess what, bitch?
48 hours. You were my wife, but you had an affair, but none of it really happened because
I went to prostitutes, but I didn't sleep with them and I didn't murder them.
That's how good I am. I save fish and I don't murder prostitutes.
Yeah, that'd be a hard sell. It's a lot easier to say, hey, I'm John.
Yeah. Have you ever been to Shell Beach? He's like, I think that's it over there. Let's go for a walk.
It's going to be a little easier. All right, so this time you can go first. What worked for you?
Okay. First up, Alex Proyas' direction and Darius Wolski's cinematography. Okay. I just think their visual aesthetic, the two of them together, is just perfect. It's super Gothic horror, German expressionist. They are dynamite together. And I think George Little and Patrick Tatopoulos' production design, similarly, I love the look of the city, and I love the creepy Clive Barker meets Fritz Lang underworld, and I like the neo-noir overworld.
Okay.
I think Dark City looks really cool. And I think all of the principals, Rufus Sewell, Jennifer Connelly, William Hurt, Kiefer Sutherland, and Richard O'Brien, all kill it. They all give great performances.
For sure.
What worked for you?
So I really liked the plot of The Matrix and Dune, so this plot was all right.
Okay.
It was essentially like a play on a trope I knew I already was into.
Okay.
Chosen one fixes the thing, fights the bad guys, fixes the thing. Mm-hmm. That's fine. It's just a monomyth. We all love the monomyth whether we want to or not. It's just part of our thing. I really loved the dark style that oozed from this movie. It really reminded me of The Crow, like trench coats everywhere, it's dirty. The lighting also, it kind of reminded me of Fight Club lighting.
Yeah, that's very neo-noir too.
Yeah, it's just really dark Gotham vibes in a good way. And I like that, and I don't know how you put that. I guess I like the mood that they evoke. That's a very positive thing. I think the lighting and sound design were spot on. I don't think that they were amazeballs. Like, I think there are better lit movies. Like, I think probably for me the gold standard for lighting is Fight Club. Oh, okay. And I really and I think it was on its way. It was doing really good.
Okay.
And I just thought that I thought that Alex Proyas did a really good job expressing his vision in this movie. I didn't really love the vision, but I feel like I got what he was trying. I was picking up what he was putting down. It maybe not have been my flavor of bubblegum, but I understood what he was going for.
Yeah, like he
clearly communicated.
He did the thing he wanted. It's just not your favorite thing.
Yeah. So that's what worked for me.
Okay.
But it didn't work for you.
So what didn't work for me is I was very frustrated that there isn't a perfect version of the movie. I really maybe over the top, irrationally hate the voiceover narration at the beginning of the movie because
you finally joined my team.
Because I think it has its place in some movies, but I don't want the whole plot of a mystery explained to me in the opening crawl. Like in a mystery, you can do it in Star Wars. You can say there's a galactic empire and there's a rebellion and explain all the stuff. You can't explain.
And there's ancient space wizards and they're going to take down the bad guys.
You can't explain the mystery of a mystery and then watch it unfold with interest. So that really irritates me. But then the director's cut is a little draggy. Like, it's not as well paced as a theatrical cut. So I just want the theatrical cut without the narration. And there's not that version of the movie. So that annoys me. Yeah. And then number 2, I think the philosophical ideas are a little underdeveloped. Half-baked.
A little simplistic.
Yeah.
It's an allegory of the cave.
And, Yeah, actually, it is. So, like, it really suffers from having The Matrix come out the next year and executing the same themes at a higher level with more complexity and more layers to it than this movie does. It's like they made this movie and you're like, that movie's really good. And then a better version of it came out the next year and you're like, well, that movie's really, really good.
Comparison crushes this movie.
Unfortunately, yeah. What didn't work for you?
I mean, I said I liked the plot of those other movies, but so I guess that didn't work for me. This was not a plot that was that interesting or new or whatever. Like, I just feel like this was simplistic. There weren't any real crazy things that happened. There was nothing interesting to me. Like, it was very simple and straightforward and very, very linear.
Yeah.
I know it was intentional, so it wasn't a mistake. It was a stylistic decision. I didn't like how fake the Dark City looked. It looked like, like this is a model of a dark city that changes shape, and so it's supposed to be weird and stuff. And I didn't like that.
Okay.
I think that them building all on sound stages and filming nothing on location, everything felt almost sterile.
Yeah.
There's nothing natural. So that made me, I don't know, dislike it. It just felt, they all felt like painted plywood Tim Burton's Batman sets. And I didn't like that. And then I guess finally, this movie dragged.
So you think even the theatrical cut?
Yeah,
dragged?
like Carrie was like, "Dang, the first half of this movie sucked, and the second half was like okay." I totally agreed. I was like, "Man," in the beginning, I was like, "Super yawn. This is boring as fuck." And then finally, we started moving.
Yeah.
But then when we started moving, it was all like stuff. It was like, the plot was so thin. It was like tissue paper thin. You could just push your finger through it. Like, oh, he can't fix Anna. He's the one. He can change everything. He can rebuild the world. Why can't he make that or whatever? Like, it was just like every little thing just was like, it didn't hold water. And then like watching it on its own in 98 probably would have been pretty rad. It probably would have been a disappointment after watching The Crow. But then after, and then if you watch The Matrix immediately after, you're like, oh yeah, not only did The Matrix do all of their effects like way better and it looked so much cooler, also the story was tighter.
Yeah.
And the acting, I don't know if the acting was better, but I just feel like the play between Morpheus and Neo and Trinity is better than the play in this between the characters.
I don't disagree with that.
So it was just like, this is like the ugly brother. This is the DeVito versus the Schwarzenegger. This is the ugly twin.
And
not that DeVito's ugly, but anyway.
Yeah. And that's really unfortunate because I think this movie, if it was just standing on its own, would stand a lot taller.
If it just had an original concept, it would stand alone on its own.
You don't think the simulated world run by aliens is an original concept?
I mean, Truman Show, The Matrix.
That's the same year too. Truman Show.
Yeah,
also.
I mean,
but that's not aliens. It's like a TV studio.
It's a semantic difference. TV execs are basically aliens.
Is Pleasantville like that too? Pleasantville is like people that live in a TV show too.
Yeah, that's
a theme that was running a lot there.
Yeah, in the 90s, it was all like, are we in a simulation?
Yeah.
Like, anyway, that's what didn't work for me. There was a lot of sour taste for me.
Okay.
So what do you think? What's your rating?
I'm at a 4-star on this.
That gets a double oof from me.
I figured it would, but I think this is. I think it's an excellent movie. I think it's a great noir sci-fi horror movie. It executes everything that it wants to do, and a lot of the negatives that we're putting on it come from comparing it to a different movie that came out later. So I think judged on its own, I think it's a 4-star film. Okay. What about you?
So I was really thinking about it, trying to judge it on its own, especially not coming after a film that came after it.
Mm-hmm.
That's a special thing, I guess. And so I ended up giving it a 3.
Okay.
I feel like it's not that good. It's not that bad. It's just sort of okay.
Yeah.
But I mean, I feel like I rated it worse than movies that are better than it. I feel like you rated it better than movies that are straight up. Like you give it a 4 when you've given better movies a 3. Like, I mean, Constantine was better than this, or at least equal, because I rated him equally. You gave Dracula a 3.
Which Dracula?
Both.
Oh no, I gave one of them a 4, didn't I?
No, I've got the spreadsheet open right now, and so I just feel like you want to like all these movies. You've given them all really high ratings. Nothing below a 4. A 5 in all 4s. I think that's really sus, to use the words of the kids.
No, I didn't. I gave a 3 to Escape from New York.
Oh, maybe I miswrote that. Well, anyway, I think Dark City was not supposed to be on this list. It's not cyber nor punk. Not top 10.
That I don't agree, or that I do agree with. But I think the cool...
It's better than 12 Monkeys, though.
The cool film guy opinion of this is that this is the better movie between this and The Matrix. Like, if you go looking on the internet, there's a lot of if you like The Matrix, you'll love Dark City, the superior precursor to The Matrix.
Yeah, those are the same people that try to tell you how amazing and awesome the Ramones are. It's like, oh, I guess you haven't listened to music before.
Okay. So we're 3 and a 4.
All right, let's go ahead and take a break, and then we'll come back in and conclude this.
Welcome back, divers. It's time for our final segment, the one where I ask Dave, what are you into right now?
All right, I'm going to go ahead and tell you guys about a YouTube channel because it's one of my go-tos. This is a new one to me, though.
Oh,
this is legitimately new. I wasn't just mining the depths. What have I not told the divers about that I like? Carrie showed me this, my lovely wife, just the other day. It's a channel called Tokyo Lens. It's a channel by this guy named Norm Nakamura, and he's in Japan. He's kind of our age, and he's a fluent Japanese speaker. He's a white guy. He is also a fluent English speaker. He sounds American to me. Could be Canadian, you never know. And basically, he's talking. He makes a channel this is my Japan, like Japan as I experience it.
Okay.
And he lives there, and he's a cool guy. He plays a suguru shamisen, which is like a Japanese banjo kind of. To super simplify it, I know Carrie's going to be like, not at all. But no. And he does piloting stuff. He takes boats around. He's a boat captain. He makes and builds sets and things, but he also does all these really cool mini docs. This channel is not like just a vlog channel.
Right.
This dude is really good with cameras, really good with cutting things together, and extremely good at doing well thought out overdub, voiceover stuff, narrator, documentary style. He's got a bunch of different playlists, and this kind of gives you just a taste of what he's all about. He's got Tokyo Nights and Rooftops, Pilot Journey, Japan's Tiny Apartments, Japan's Shops, Abandoned Places in Japan Adventures, Empty Kyoto, and Japan Mini Docs. So those are all Tokyo Lens. If you like Japan, this place is dope. And you might be thinking, why is Dave interested in Japan? Well, as of October 11th, they are now allowing visa-free tourist travel to Japan. So that has just passed. And guess who lives in Japan and has a guest room? My friends, Sage and Carly. So me and Carrie are going to go there in 2023.
Oh, very exciting.
I'm watching more Japan stuff. And of course, since they have bullet trains, you can get anywhere.
Where does and it's Diver Sage, right?
Yeah, Diver Sage. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's listening.
Yeah. Where do they live in Japan?
It starts with an M, but it's basically like an hour and a half ish southwest of Tokyo if you're taking a fast train.
Gotcha.
So it's. And then I did a little bit of looking online. If you take the fast train from their place to Kyoto, which is even further west, it's like 2.5 hours or something. Okay. So
cool.
It's like pretty cool. Can go to Kyoto. Anyway, so I definitely recommend watching Tokyo Lens if you like cool, interesting content. A recent video I watched was he goes to an abandoned mountain village in Japan where only one person lives. He's an original inhabitant. He was born there, and you can't even drive there anymore. So you have to hike in several miles.
Oh, wow.
And there's this old village, and there's this old Japanese man who lives there, and he's really cool and really smart. Mm-hmm. And he talks about how he has to like take all these precautions against the bears that now inhabit the whole area. And he walks through the village, and he talks about the school he went to and all the people he knew and all this stuff. It's just a dope channel.
And so they sound like they're like long, like 40-minute videos? Or they?
I think that one was maybe 25, 30. Okay. His videos are anything from 10 to 40 minutes.
Okay.
Like there are some short bites you can see where he compares like shamisen, like a $100 shamisen versus a $20,000 shamisen.
Wow.
Like
okay.
The sounds. All right. So how about you? What are you into right now?
So I'm into right now the album Free LSD by the band Off on Fat Possum Records. Okay. This just came out September 30th, so it's been out for a little more than a week, and this is the long-awaited fourth album from hardcore supergroup Off. They describe it as a heavy punk industrial free jazz soundtrack recording.
Didn't you send me a link to this at one point?
I sent you a couple videos. Guy. Yeah, I sent you a couple videos. I think I sent you.
A Metallica cover?
The Metallica cover, and then probably the lead single off the album, War Over Los Angeles.
Yeah, this is pretty good.
Yeah, I like them. I know you don't like jazz stuff. There's 4 jazz interludes on the album that are Dave Kryptonite. Like you would just hate that. You don't like the sound of
like, trim that shit.
You don't like the sound of saxophones. You don't like any you especially I think don't like free jazz where it's like improvisational dissonant jazz.
This means you're bad.
Yeah. So sure. Anyways, so Off kind of came out of hiatus last year, and the first thing that they dropped was that cover of Holier Than Thou for Metallica's Blacklist. And then they went right into the studio with this new lineup of Dimitri Coates from Burning Brides on guitar, Keith Morris of Black Flag and the Circle Jerks on vocals, and then new bassist Autry Fulbright II and drummer Justin Brown. And this is a much more like the first 3 albums are much more straight ahead American hardcore in the vein of Black Flag and Circle Jerks. They're getting spacier on this one. It's much more experimental.
I like that.
There's like I said, jazz elements, industrial elements. There's a little bit of thrash, a little bit of the Metallica cover makes sense. Like there's some of that in there. And this whole thing, why they call it a soundtrack album, is it's a soundtrack to a film, Free LSD, directed by guitarist Dimitri Coates, that's scheduled to release next year. That they call what do they call it? A rock and roll sci-fi comedy. Think Repo Man. Which Keith Morris is also in.
Okay.
What I've seen of the movie is it has a very Repo Man vibe, and it's about.
Are there gonna if there is a like a screening in the metro here, we should go to it and like talk to people.
That'd be cool.
That'd be
fun. Yeah. so the plot of the movie is described as, like I said, a sci-fi comedy about an LA punk band on an unexpected journey across multiple dimensions to create the album Free LSD. So it's a circular concept.
It's
the album supports
jerk.
The movie. It's a circle jerk. Very fitting, right? And I just like it. I like when punk rock kind of breaks out of the narrow lane and gets experimental. And this is a fun album, and I think pretty cool band.
Nice. I'm glad that there's a music recommendation. Those are always welcome. So go ahead and subscribe to us on your favorite podcatcher, as well as YouTube, Spotify, and Audible. I'm serious about Audible.
We always push Audible.
You can even leave text reviews. Like, these guys are incredibly funny, also handsome, even though they don't post pictures.
Yeah.
Don't forget to leave us a review. 5-star review costs you nothing, but means everything to us.
New episodes of Nick and Dave Deep Dive the Metaverse drop the 1st and 15th of every month, and you can find us on all social media platforms across the Metaverse as at Deep Dive the Meta. We are on Twitter, which Dave likes, Instagram, which I like, and stubbornly still on Pinterest, which no one likes.
Well, I guess this is really goodbye.
Don't say goodbye. Say good journey.